Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the set design workshop. And I already am hearing a little bit of feedback in my computer, so give me 1 second until I fix that. Sweet. So, welcome to the set design workshop officially. I'm going to redo that welcome because, we want to make it really polished. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the set design workshop of Behind the Curtain. My name is Laura Zablit, and I work in the Arts Engagement Department of the Old Globe Theater in San Diego. So thank you for joining us again. We've had 2 workshops so far, so if you didn't get to see those already, check them out up on our page in our videos section. This is our weekly live streamed theater production workshop series where you get to meet industry professionals from all different theater design disciplines right here on our Facebook page. And I also am so excited to announce that in addition to this version of the workshop series, starting on Monday, we will be launching our Spanish version of Behind the Curtain. It's going to be Mondays at 3 p.m., led by our amazing teaching artists, Valeria Vega and Tara de Casa. So thank you so much to our amazing teaching artists for joining us. If you've been meaning to brush up on your Spanish, why not watch 2 workshops? Or if you have any Spanish-speaking friends who you think would love it, definitely send them our way. We'll get to have all of the similar content, but in another language on Mondays at 3 p.m. So don't forget that. But today, we're going to spend the next hour exploring the world of scenery. What is scenery for theater? If you were the set designer for a professional theater production, what would that mean? Like, what would you be doing? What are some of the skills that you might need if you were going to become a professional set designer? And how can you practice those skills at home right now, today? We're going to be exploring some of those questions along with trying out some set design activities that you can join us on. So get that comment section ready. And also, if you have any questions during any part of this workshop, definitely put those questions in the comment section so that we can answer those at the end of the workshop. So without further ado, I am honored to welcome our scenery designer guest artist, Joe Powell, here today. He's the technical director here at the Old Globe, and he received his Bachelor of Fine Arts in Theater with an emphasis in technical direction and design at Valdosta State University. He moved to New York to become a carpenter and designer, and eventually became the head of the scenery department at the Public Theater. And he joined the Old Globe 3 years ago. So today, we are so excited to have him lead us through what it means to create scenery in the theater. Hey, Joe, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
I am so excited to have you, and we have so many really cool things lined up. We have some guests from our community partner out here today. Before we do any of that, though, real quick, Joe, will you take this opportunity to define scenery for us? What is a theater set?
Sure. So a theater set is the environment that's created on stage. Last week, we talked about props. And a set designer is really in charge of the look of scenery and the props. And we work together to make sure that we're helping to tell the story through this environment that we create on the stage.
So that's what I love so much about theater production, is that every single element is telling the same story, is collaborating and uniting to tell that story. So when we see a set on a stage, there's already information about what that story is, even before any of the actors walk on, before we see any costumes, before we hear any words or anything. I love that. And so we have an activity about how storytelling can happen through set design. But Joe, are you ready to welcome our very special community partner guests?
Definitely.
Awesome. So let's welcome to the live stream Bree Guy and Reginald Washington. So if you watched our last 2 live streams, you may have remembered that I mentioned Reggie Washington and Project Aware as we did our check-in, but I figured it was pretty important that we have Reggie and Bree join us to share the check-in in person. So before we do our game and activity for today, Bree, would you please lead us in a check-in?
Yeah, of course. Before I start the check-in, did you want me to explain a little bit of what Project Aware is about?
That would be lovely. Yes, thank you.
Perfect. So Project Aware is a program. We focus on a bunch of different things. A few of them are emotional literacy, literary skills, problem-solving skills, healthy and unhealthy relationships, social skills, and also building leaders in our community. I like to say that us as mentors, we like to teach the youth the skills and tools that we wish we were taught growing up.
And I've loved getting to know
about
you.
Project Aware.
Yeah, Project Aware is awesome. I've loved getting to know you and the whole community. Do you also want to share real quick how the COVID-19 pandemic is impacting your community at Project Aware?
Yeah, I feel like the COVID is impacting, I feel like the ability for us to do our circles, you know, physically rather than virtually.
Yeah,
so that's impacting a lot. Yeah. But I'll start a check-in. Again, my name is Brittany Guy. I'm a mentor for Project Aware, and our check-in consists of our name, how we're feeling. 3 words we cannot use are good, okay, and all right, because those are more masking words, and we want to know how you're feeling more emotionally and mentally. And also no physical feelings such as sleepy, hungry, or sick, because we're kind of all feeling like that. And again, we want to know how you're really feeling emotionally. And the last question is, as you can see now, we're doing this virtually. So I'm wondering, what is your background? You know, what does it say about you? I think today we'll start off with Laura.
Cool. And if you're watching at home, I definitely encourage you to participate in the check-in and write your answers in the comments right now as we're doing our check-in. So the question, so it's name, how I'm feeling, and what my background says about me. So my name is Laura. I am feeling truly honored. I feel honored. And I think my background, which is all this black piece of fabric, I think that my background says about me that I am concealing. I'm concealing personal information because there's not as much information when the background is all black like this, or that I'm trying to be very polished and professional. That's what I think my background says about me. All right, who's next?
Thank you. And then we can go on to Reggie.
Hello, how you guys doing? My name is Reggie. I'm feeling honored today. What does my background say about me? It says community. As you can see in the background, there's a lot of different things. There's books, there's brochures, there's resource opportunities. So my background really talks about, you know, me as an individual and as a CEO of Project Aware, that we're about community and giving back.
Okay, and then Joe.
Hi, so I'm Joe. I'm feeling really excited and a little bit nervous. And my background says that, you know, I'm working from home in my office / bedroom / nursery to a father of a 6-month-old.
Thank you. Okay, and my name is Brittany. I'm feeling extremely grateful. And I think my background says home and family, and yeah.
Thank you so much for leading us through the check-in, Bree. That was awesome.
Of course, thank you.
And so now we can, as we thought about what the story we're telling with what our backgrounds are and all these Zoom and Skype and FaceTime meetings, let's go ahead and move into our first activity where we look at some theater sets and think about what story that set is telling us without knowing anything else about the show. Yeah, how's that sound, Joe?
Sounds like a great plan.
Awesome. I like confirmation to know that my plans are very good.
Scenery can be anything. It can be the really detailed reconstruction of an actual place, or it can be something totally abstract. So, and it can be another character in the play. So it's really cool to see what a set can tell us about what's going on. So let's start.
Awesome. So we will have a couple of pictures come up that we're going to share. And Joe will not give us any hints. He's not going to tell us what the show was or when it took place or anything. And then Bree and Reggie and I will look at those images and think about, just from what our own experiences and our own thoughts and feelings on what that scenery looks like, what the vibe of that story is. So we might think about, when that story took place, where it took place. Is it a happy or a sad story? What kind of place does it look like the characters might be living in? But the main question here is, what is the vibe? What is the vibe that we get from this set? And you at home, please participate. Put what you think it is in the comments. We're going to guess out here and try to figure out what it is. And then after everybody gets to weigh in, we will have Joe tell us what the story actually was. All right, everybody ready?
Yes.
Cool. All right, let's see that first photo.
So this is a show that we just did earlier this year, a set designed by David Gallo.
Okay, Bree, Reggie, what do you think?
It looks like a shop, you know, where it's sort of old school, almost, you know, it gives off a historically sort of somber time.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's taking place in 2020.
It looks a lot older, kind of maybe a little rustic almost, like it's been there for a while.
Yeah, I see that the fridge looks like it's old, but it's still a fridge, so there's still like electricity and stuff, but it is kind of a rundown space. You can see up at the top, it's like the paint is kind of wearing away in the wall. Okay, so what do we think the vibe is?
I get struggle just looking how old the couch is, and you know, it doesn't look like there's new furniture, so there might be some struggling going on.
Yeah. That's an interesting point. Yeah, struggle. Is that kind of that's our vibe? Okay, don't forget to weigh in at home, but for now, our final answer here on the air, we're saying the vibe is struggle. Okay, Joe, what's the show? What's it about?
So this is August Wilson's Jitney, and it's about struggle in Pittsburgh in the 1970s, with the closing of the mills. So good job, everybody.
Yeah, that was an awesome show. Bree and Reggie, you got to see that, yeah?
That was good. It was amazing.
Loved it.
Yeah, directed by Ruben Santiago Hudson. Big fan. Okay, awesome. Let's see the next one.
We're on our Old Globe stage again. This is a show we did a couple years ago. Set design by Derek McLean.
Okay, so this vibe definitely feels different to me. What are y'all thinking?
I get like a party vibe almost, like
I'm looking at being a lot more upbeat. Like there's some there's energy there, a sense energy there, and it almost has an artistic value to it, with seeing the tires that are part of the lamps. Like that was put together to show art to an artist's mind.
Yeah, I feel that.
Reminds me of like Tetris almost.
Yeah, it's kind of like,
it's very colorful too as well.
Yeah, which makes me, the energy when you said energy, definitely feels alive. Like, I'm not necessarily a slow paced show.
Yes.
And more modern than old school. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So what's our final answer for vibe, do you think, team?
I mean, if we have to stick with like high energy, or we have to stick with movement.
Yeah, like energy and move. Okay, I feel that. Okay, what's our final answer? What do you think, Joe? What's our
this is The Heart of Rock and Roll, which is a world premiere musical of based on the songs of Huey Lewis in the News. So lots of high energy, lots of fun, very 80s vibe to the show. One of the things I really love about that is that Derek McLean really took the words, you know, it's hip to be square, and our hero works in a box factory. And so we've got this great proscenium framing our set of boxes that our LX department lit up, and they could change color and chase each other. And it was a lot of fun. It was a high energy show and a lot of fun.
Okay.
Hey, high energy. That's exactly what Reggie was saying.
Yeah.
That's so cool that like we could get so much information about the story from just the set. All right, let's move on. Ooh.
All right, so here we are in our small theater. This is our white theater, which is in the round, which means you have an audience all four sides. And this was a set design we did 3 years ago with that Tim Maccabee designed.
Okay. So the vibe of this, which could kind of be defined in a bunch of different ways, but just the general feeling. What do you feel like the vibe is, Bree?
I think this is a little bit older. It looks like maybe middle class. It reminds me of almost like a teacher's lounge or like maybe a classroom.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel that. And that thing up in the ceiling or that thing that's hanging down makes it seem more like a workspace than a home, kind of what you were saying, a teacher's lounge or something like that.
Or even somewhere at, like it's lunch break at a factory or something. This is what they have to really, really work with.
But then again, I see that couch and I'm thinking maybe like an office or something too.
Yeah, like the couch wouldn't have been put there if people didn't want people to feel comfortable, but at the same time,
a space for lounge.
yeah, like they're not trying to make it fancy. They're not trying to put fancy rugs out or anything like that. But okay, so if we were going to put the vibe in one word, some people online are saying industrial or intense, which is kind of cool. What do we want to give our final answer up here?
I was thinking comfortable, but I like industrial for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, comfortable. And somebody also in comments said intimate, which I think is really, isn't that neat? How sometimes the simple things are the most comfortable and intimate. All right.
I like that.
Yeah, me too. Joe, will you share with us what the story of this show was?
So this is Skeleton Crew, which was a story of factory workers in right after the crisis. So, a lot of, and I love how Tim Maccabee, it takes place in the break room, but with a huge beam across, you still get that industrial, we're in the factory feel without having the rest of the factory.
Wow.
And it's always tricky in our white theater because you can't have walls. So you play and floor and deal with the ceiling. And he got a lot across in that.
That's so cool. I feel like there were a lot of clues that we just found in that picture. Yeah. I feel like we're doing a really good job, team. We're doing great. Okay, let's see. Let's move on to the next one.
So we're out on our festival stage, our outdoor theater. And this was a set design that the show that we did 3 years ago. And John Lee Beatty, the incomparable John Lee Beatty, designed the set.
Okay. This one is different from the last one.
I get the feeling of like intensity.
Yeah, I feel that.
Definitely see. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's more rustic too, so I think it's in older times.
Yeah.
Like almost.
Yeah, like the background, how it's kind of varnished and tarnished. I don't know what the proper word would actually be in that moment, but yeah.
Yeah.
What are you gonna say, Reggie?
Just again, I sense, a sense of darkness, a struggle. It just reminds me of, it reminds me of Europe. This doesn't look like the United States, even in the old.
Yeah, that's interesting.
This looks like France. This looks like, reminds me of the catacombs. It could be Italy, Rome, so things like that.
Yeah, that's interesting that we do get a sense of location, even from something as simple as a floor and this back wall. Like probably not the U.S. And I feel you also. If definitely, I wouldn't think that it's a comedy. Probably more of a tragedy. So a vibe. If you're going to say the vibe in a word, what do we think the vibe of this story is through this set?
I like what Reggie had said, like darkness almost.
Darkness. Okay. What is it, Joe? What's the story?
So this is Shakespeare's classic Richard II. So a history tragedy. Very good, everybody. I love how Beatty, even though it's a very abstract set, you still get the sense of castle without seeing castle up there. So
that's a good word. I like that word.
Yeah, and it is outside of the United States, and people online were saying like medieval, which we also were feeling. Faded glory, totally. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that vibe. Faded glory. That's a vibe. Okay, we have another one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we're still on our festival stage now, and this set by Takashi Kata is very different. So what do you guys think of this one?
I feel like when I look at this, I see a lot of elegance. It looks almost like they're standing on, when I see the set, I see like a map, and it looks to be like houses in the background on those squares.
Yeah, totally.
Town maybe almost.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I see them in a beach setting, and you know, it almost looked like there's a bucket where sand goes in. Then I'm looking over in the right, and it's almost like there's rock.
Yeah.
That's part of this beach. You know how on the beaches there's rocks and things like that. So
That's
but
crazy.
I do sense elegance though with the way individuals are, you know, have this this sand, and it gives me a sense of something where individuals who aren't common won't be there.
Yeah, no, I feel it because it doesn't look like a messy beach. It doesn't look like a party beach.
Right.
There's like these clean lines.
It almost looks like a sandbox.
Yeah, totally.
Now
And
that
what
you said the bucket and the rocks, I see that now. I didn't see that before. It definitely looks like a sandbox to me.
Yeah, and what you were saying, Bree, about the map. I took all these houses. It feels so different to me than the one where they were inside in the break room, where it was kind of insular and the whole story felt like it was taking place in one room. This makes me think of a whole community or a whole region more, and being outside and maybe having room to interact with others or something like that.
I definitely think that should be our word, community. That definitely, it looks like a community. Yeah,
I feel that. And folks online are suggesting playful. Somebody said beach wedding, but with tragedy. Memory, innocence. Ooh, yeah, this is something about memory. Good. Yeah, gritty elegance.
Like that, gritty elegance.
Gritty elegance. But I love your word, Bree. I love community. Yeah. Hey, Joe, what was this show? What was the story?
So this is Romeo and Juliet, another great Shakespeare tragedy, directed by our artistic director, Barry Edelstein. What I love about this is that, you know, you see Verona in the background, so you know you're in a city. But Barry had a really interesting spin on Romeo and Juliet and thought that it was a really fun love story all the way up until somebody dies. And so to make the set feel fun and playful, and then also be able to turn it into a tragedy. So
real quick, Joe, and this is so good because Bree saw this, but I didn't. What's that in the background?
So we've got walls in the background with a light box with an image of houses in Verona all the way.
And I didn't even see that. Bree, you saw that. You saw the houses. I didn't see that. I was so focused on right there in front of me that I didn't see that. And I know with art and I know with play, sometimes those images keep us locked in that we don't notice the other aspects of it.
I know, that's crazy because I didn't even notice the rock or the sand bucket until you had said something. Or like really how the shape of the sandbox almost looks, because that's what I see.
Yeah, totally. It's so funny because I feel like all of our personal experiences and the way that we have seen the world and things that we've seen before would influence the way that we see sets and the way that we connect with different sets and stuff like that. The information that we get from those sets, which is so cool that art is, I mean, everybody's going to see every element of it in a different way. Even when it comes to something as specific as scenery for a play, just the scenery, we see it in a different way sometimes. That's awesome. All right. I think that's our last set, right, Joe?
I think we may have one more.
Yay.
Yay. I feel like we're doing really well, though, I must say. Of course. How could I forget? Okay. All
right. So here we are in the old Globe Theater again. Another set designed by John Lee Beatty. What can you tell us?
When I look at it, I feel like there's suspense, a little bit of darkness, but also a little bit of happiness because you could tell it's snowing. There's Christmas trees.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But
feel
yeah,
that.
I definitely feel suspense.
And it's so funny because Laura had said something that really, I see it happening now. My decision is based on my life, my environment, what my own experiences are. So for me, my birthday is December 20th. So I connect birthday happy feelings with winter, and I see the snow, and I almost see a winter wonderland. And maybe there are other things behind it, but I'm so programmed to see what I see because of my own past and what my own experiences. So for me, I see winter wonderland, I see Christmas, I see fun, I see my birthday.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Bree, I don't know how you feel about being cold in the wintertime, but maybe somebody who doesn't have as many positive associations with wintertime and being cold, yeah, it's like darkness. And I also, I feel you, Bree, on the darkness, but also the holiday festive. It doesn't look real, right? It doesn't look super realistic. Maybe it's more cartoony.
Most definitely.
And people online, we're hearing festive, very alive. Surreal imagination. Yeah, it does feel kind of surreal because there is that darkness, but it's still playful. It's surreal imagination, animated, maybe literally. Looks like a comic book almost, right?
Oh, that's a good one.
Right, Reggie, you're the comic book expert.
Well, you know, I am the individual who has thousands and thousands of comic books, and I read them. And I don't want to give this away, but I can see, you know, certain stories coming from Christmas. You know, we have our favorites during Christmas time, and I bring memories.
Yeah, you're doing a good job of not giving it away too much. People online have Senchi, winter, suspense, and hope.
I like that one.
Yeah, winter, suspense, and
Winter
hope.
suspense, that's a good one.
Yeah, these are all great vibes. And it's so cool because I feel like, if I just saw actors walk on stage, I would have a really clear and specific sense of the vibe that they're just handing me. But just from the moment of looking, we're getting so many interesting stories and so many interesting feelings within that story just from the set.
Definitely.
Okay, so we got our vibe. We've put out our vibes. What are you feeling, Joe? What is the vibe of this show? What is the show?
Well, of course, this is Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas that we do here.
Yep.
Awesome.
So lots of fun, lots of inspiration from Seuss's actual book. I love how his black and white drawings really come alive on the stage and are for the imagination.
That's so cool. Well, thank you so much, Joe, for helping to take us through this tour of all these shows. And thank you so much, Bree and Reggie, for joining us today. This has been so much fun. It's been such an honor to get to hang out with you for a minute, cyber hangout. Bree, would you take us through a one-word checkout before you go?
Yes, of course. So checkout today just consists of one word of what you thought of our activity.
All right.
We can start off with the way we went. So Laura, Reggie, Joe, and then me.
Okay. One word for how I feel about the activity. Funny. I thought it was very funny.
One word to describe the activity for me was entertaining. It was entertaining.
One word for me, I feel like it's work in many different ways. So.
I feel like the activity was very uplifting and it gets you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for leading our checkout. Thank you for joining us so much, Bree and Reggie. And I'll see you sometime soon. And then Joe and I will keep moving with the other stuff. But thank you for joining. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh,
thank you for giving Project Aware this opportunity.
So happy to be partners. We'll see you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
You too. All right, Joe, thank you so much for leading us through that activity. And now that we've kind of gotten a sense of all of the storytelling and kind of emotional approaches that we can have to scenery, can you share with us, like, for all of those incredible sets, what is the process like when a designer is assigned to a show? What do they do at the beginning?
Great, sure. So a set designer is usually one of the first designers brought on. They're usually right after the writer and the director. So they're there from the beginning to work with them to sort of flesh out this world that they're creating. And that starts with going to the script, having conversations with the director, and then doing a lot of research usually to get inspiration and to figure out what's going on. So I think we can briefly take a look through the process of a great set that we did here back in 2015, Comedy of Errors, that was designed by Alexander Dodge. So let's Comedy of Errors is usually done or Shakespeare did it in ancient Greece, and our director set it in New Orleans in the 1920s. So Alexander Dodge went to images of New Orleans and Bourbon Street and all this great architecture that was there for inspiration. So,
that's so cool. So Alexander Dodge obviously was not living in New Orleans in the 1920s, most likely. So it was just research and imagination at the beginning.
Yeah, lots of research and imagination, and then he has to take all of that and start putting it into drawings.
So what's the next step after that research?
The first drawing that you're usually creating is a ground plan. It's one of the most important drawings that we make, and that's we can show an image of one. That's sort of a bird's eye view of this and how the set is going to fit within the theater. You can see here on the bottom. You can see a large structure in the middle, and two small structures on either side, and the big circle is a turntable that Alexander Dodge wanted us to put in. So that the whole building in the middle can spin around and we can see the interior. So,
oh my goodness. So that was your responsibility to, as someone who's working on that set, to figure out how to make an entire building turn on stage?
Yeah, that's part of what we do all the time, is trying to figure out how to make these designs happen. So, and then this drawing gives you a great idea of how it all fits on one plane. So this drawing he's going to make is a section drawing. Look at that image. So this slice through right down center stage, and we get to see from the side. Get to see
so that on the right there, that's the audience, right?
Yeah, audience on the right, and then you've got the set on the left, and then you can see now that we're making 2-story buildings. And this image is super helpful for the lighting designer and the sound designer is there, and those teams, as we're trying to figure out how all of their equipment is going to play in with the set. So
oh, that's right. It kind of feels like a full-on construction blueprint in building a structure, a full structure. Is that what it feels like when you're making one of those?
Oh, definitely. So, we get tons of drawings from the set designer that are how he wants everything to look like from the front. And then as a technical director, we have to figure out how we're going to build all of that. And so we make more drawings to figure out how it's all going together. So,
art, engineering. There's a whole lot of stuff in here.
Definitely. It takes a lot of experience and education to figure out how to look at a ground plan and look at a section, see what the full 3D image is going to look like. Designers also create a rendering, which is what it's going to look like. It's a drawing in perspective of what it's going to look like from the audience. So we can look at Alexander's rendering.
Are renderings usually done by hand? Is somebody painting that? Or it looks like that one was done on a computer, right?
So this is a 3D rendering, but renderings can be hand painted. They can be just sketches. Anything that any way that you can get it across is great. So just so that everybody has a sense of what the final product needs to look like. And if we slide, Alexander even showed what we wanted the building to look like when it got turned around, and we saw the interior. So.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see how it looks like in this stage, there are some more design features. There's color in play, and there's the way that the railings look, a little bit more storytelling than in in the section or in the ground plan.
Definitely. You get to see that big picture. And then Alexander would have taken this and drawn out every single window and every single door and done a paint elevation for each and every piece, so that we have all those different components for my team to figure out how we're going to put it all together. Another big tool that a designer will make a lot of the time is a 3D model. So this is a scale model. And this is
Oh my goodness.
that was made for this set, and we actually automated the turntable in the model so that you could see it rotate around. So.
Awesome. Was that made by hand? Are those always made by hand?
Most models are made by hand. Nowadays, components can be 3D printed, furniture and different pieces. And we're getting to the point where you can 3D print your entire model, but still, most of them are made by hand. That was made by hand by our resident design assistant. And models are really helpful for the director when they're in the rehearsal room and all they tape on the floor, and they figure out what these images are going to look like that they're trying to rehearse.
Oh, that's right. Because as you're going through this whole set creation process, the actors don't have any of that to work with quite yet. So they're just in a big empty room with the way that the amount of space that they'll have to walk in, taped out on the floor, using their imagination while you're busy creating the real thing. Yeah.
That's true. So it's really helpful for them to be able to go over and look at this model and go, oh, this is the environment that I'm in when I'm in the scene. So.
Right. Right. Okay, cool. So then is the model the last stage before you actually start building?
Generally, once we have the model and all the renderings and all the drawings, go into building. And so my team has to figure out how we're going to build it all. We have to draw build drawings of everything and have to make every little piece in our shop away from the theater. I think we have an image of us constructing the staircase here in our shop. So we build almost everything from scratch. And then we have to take all of those pieces and truck them over to the theater to load it all in. I think we've got a shot of us loading this in. So really quite a production to get everything installed and pieces put in. And then we work with all the other departments to come up with the final picture here. And this is what it looked like on stage with actors.
So right, the load-in pictures with tech folks. Oh, and there's the actors. Yeah. Wow, it looks just like the little model almost. It's like a giant toy.
That's the hope.
That's so cool. And so that one was able to rotate and.
Yep, the whole structure could rotate around, and we could do an interior scene and then rotate back and do an exterior scene again.
That's the coolest. Okay, that was really helpful. I don't know if I've ever gotten to have anybody walk me through all of those different stages, because there's a lot of different stages. I feel like for scenery, there were maybe even more than other design disciplines. A bunch of different, very detailed stages.
Well, lots of designers have detailed stages, but since the set designer is brought on from the beginning, there's a lot of different components, and a lot of the other designers and actors and everything are playing off of those images that the set designer is creating. So
right, that's right.
There's a lot to do in building and drafting and trying to figure out how we're going to make it all happen and make it all move. So.
Yeah, that was something that Heather was talking about in the first workshop about lighting, about how so much of how lighting is created depends on your set and depends on other people's props and everything, and how much collaboration there is in that, which is so cool. That's like my favorite part about theater. I say that all the time. I say this is my favorite thing about theater and theater production, and then 5 minutes later I have a new thing, but that's my favorite theater production thing of the moment. Real quick, if you're watching at home and you have questions about anything that we're talking about, definitely put those in the comments so that we can answer them at the end of the workshop. But I am so excited because usually in these in-person behind the curtain workshops, there would be one workshop day that is all about going to the Old Globe Tech Center and getting to go through our giant warehouse with all this amazing machinery and where all the costumes are stored. And right now, because we're doing this online for the first time, we are not able to take tours through the tech center. But Joe, I'm so grateful because you made it possible for us to get a virtual tour of the tech center right here for everybody to see in their homes. Thank you so much. Seriously. So let's go ahead and check out the first video, yeah?
Yeah. So I'm in and all by myself took some video. This is our technical center on Market Street near Market and Euclid. It's a 14,000 square foot facility, and you can even see the trailers where Grinch and our other shows are stored, parked out there.
Oh, whoa. So there wasn't even enough space inside the warehouse to fit everything. You still needed trailers outside.
We still need trailers outside to store extra things. And so this is about a 7 to 10 minute drive away from the theater, and we'll make everything. So let's go inside.
Woohoo.
So when you get in, you come right into our office. And usually you're greeted by lovely, happy people, but they're all at home right now. So this is the office where we're drafting and engineering and figuring out how to do all of this and making all of our purchases. And usually there's about 5 or 6 people in here busily working away. So another shot of our office, just so you can see. We've got a table in the middle for all of our roundtable meetings as we all work together. Like you said, that cooperative vibe that I love so much about theater is to work with other people and have a hive mind and everybody putting their input in. So let's go into the shop.
Okay.
Here we are entering our shop space.
Yeah.
You can see it's pretty large. We've got metalworking areas and woodworking areas. Lots of storage. We try to have a large stock of materials so that we can always find things to pull from. Over here on this side of the shop is sort of our multi-purpose area. We can tech up a big portions of set there, or sometimes we're painting big things there, and we have lots of stock automation storage as well. Yeah, and then we've got our hardware room full of anything that you could want, and our master carpenter's table where she can survey the entire shop and make sure everybody's doing the right thing. And then we've got our load-in door. So all of our set pieces have to go in and out that door.
Does that mean that sometimes they have to get disassembled in order to fit?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. We have to put them together, make sure they fit, take them apart. This is our metal area. We do a lot of steel and aluminum work, and we have all the machines to weld and cut and punch and grind and shape metal. And this giant table island in the middle of our shop is where we usually weld and build up our giant steel frames that are the backbone of so much of our scenery.
So on a normal day, would this be full of people using all
this
equipment?
Full of people, full of activity. We've got dueling table saws right there. We're in our wood area with 2 large build tables for constructing wood flats and platforms and doors and windows. And all the way tucked back here is our workhorse, our CNC machine, which is a table that we can throw a 4x8 sheet good on, plastic, wood, foam, and it's got a cutting tool that is programmed by a computer and can cut any shape that we want out of that material. So it's usually humming all day long. Now it's sitting quiet. So if you go to our next image, this is a panoramic view I took of the shop, so you can get a sort of a big sense of this big L shape that we have to create everything. And right in the middle of it, behind the red curtain, separated from everything else, is our paint deck. So this is our paint room. Right now, it's full of last minute pieces for one of the shows that we were about to load in, that we're in the process of getting painted. But we can, every piece of scenery that we build has to get cleaned and prepped and painted for the stage. So it all happens in here. And we even made a loft for our scenic charge so that she can get a bird's eye view of everything. Next video kind of shows what it looks like from up there, so that she can get some distance on some of the pieces and see what they would look like from the audience and be sure the paint technique is working out right. And if we clear everything out of this space, we can lay out a full backdrop, 30 by 60 feet, and paint a full backdrop for a theater.
And does that sometimes happen? And if so, how do people get to paint in the center of that backdrop?
Oh, well, painters would, they take their shoes off and they walk on socks and they walk on top of the fabric as they're painting it, always trying to paint to one side.
That sounds like something that would be at the Children's Museum downtown. Sounds super fun though.
Yeah.
Wow.
So let's go to
Okay.
the next image. This is just a shot of the paint room, so you can get a sense of the full scope. And we have our air conditioning in our shop, so we have these big roll doors everywhere, and we'll roll them up and try to get a cross breeze through, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then the other half of our facility is storage. And we're going to give you just a little sneak peek of the amazing storage that we have over here. So this is our props area, and their large props are all stored here, which what we call set props. So furniture, and we just have aisle after aisle of mirrors and chairs and tables and sofas and even taxidermy and cannonballs, anything you can think of. And it's really awesome that the Old Globe has this much storage, so that our props department can pull a lot of the props they need from many different periods. And set designers love walking through here to figure out what little pieces could be used for our shows.
Yeah, that's right. Dave Buse was talking about buying, pulling, and building. So when designers pull from this storage, can they change it and paint it and do things to it?
Oh, definitely, definitely. So many of the pieces get reupholstered by our awesome crafters, and they get repainted or even cut down and modified and turned into something else. So our props department is pretty amazing. And in the back, we have smaller shelves with more set dressing, all the little different knickknacks that you need to put on a set. And we've got 8 big aisles of tons of props, anything you could think of.
Wow. How does it all stay organized?
Lots of hard work trying to figure out how to fit everything into this space, which starts to feel very tiny when you got everything in there. So
yeah, that's so fun. I was able to go into the real tech center one time, and I feel like I may have observed more and noticed more things through your virtual tour than when I saw it in person. I'm so glad we got to do that.
So if we go to the next image, you can just see everything from a slightly different angle. And you can really get a sense of the volume and the scale of all of the things that our props department is able to keep, which is really huge and helpful in us sticking to our budgets and timeframes that not every prop has to be found or bought. So way in the back of our storage space, we have costumes.
Oh.
This is our giant walk-in closet of costume storage. So this is the one space that's climate controlled, and all of our costumes in here are organized by gender and by period, and they seem to go on for days.
I do. It's so cool to think of all the different shows and all the different actors who wore these costumes, sometimes getting worn multiple times, to end up with a warehouse like this.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. And of course, we don't keep every single costume, but they keep ones that are really reminiscent of the period, or ones that can be used for many different productions. So you can see all the tags labeling them by their period, and some incredible crafting and sewing going on from our costume department in there. So next image, this kind of gives you the sense of the scale. It's 10 big racks of costumes that are stacked 2, 3, even 4 high in this giant warehouse that we have.
That's so cool. And we'll get to learn more about costuming at a future workshop, but it's amazing to think about how even with all of these racks, sometimes we still need to make something. We still need to start something from scratch.
Often we need to make things, yeah.
That was so awesome. Thank you so much for letting us access the tech center and go on a tour from wherever we are, physically isolated right now. That was really awesome. And so we have a question in the comments. If you have any questions that you want to make sure to add before the end of the workshop, this is the moment to do that. But real quick, we have a little bit of time for a craft to kind of try our own hand at creating a set. So what are some of the things that we would need
I think for this craft, you need some paper. I used 3x5 index cards. You need some images, whether you draw them or cut them out of magazines. And you need some scissors and maybe some tape or glue.
Okay. I've got plenty of brochures and things coming in the mail still, so no shortage.
So like we said, the first thing that a set designer is trying to do is find inspiration. And so I went through a bunch of magazines and was trying to find images. Here's an image of the desert or forest that feel like this is the story of what I'm going through, isolation, or the story of where I want to be. Maybe you're missing your morning commute. So I created with this note card, I cut out of it a portal. So this would be your proscenium. And then I also made a piece to go behind that, doctored up a little bit of a curtain.
And for reference, real quick, a proscenium is the layout of a stage where there's one stage that's facing all of the audience on the other side. So it's just audience and then stage, as opposed to being in the round or something else that's a little bit different.
Right. And the proscenium acts sort of as a picture frame. So I colored in my curtains and my proscenium, and you can see them here together. And I've got a little person there for scale. And then it was fun to take this image and put him up against other images of getting run over by a car or in the forest, and sort of see what you want your set design to be. And it gives you, so then I took some of those images, a lovely sky, and a hill and a tree, and I can layer them together and create my own little mini model.
That's lovely. And I love that you could, in theory, you could mail that to a loved one during this time, just to share your own craft or your own set design for where you wish you could send them on a wonderful vacation somewhere else or something like that.
Yep. And then if you wanted to add just a hair more depth to it, cut some cardboard pieces up at the same proscenium size and stacked them together and slid my images inside there. And that gave me slightly more three-dimensional little mini model.
Oh, that's so cool. I love how that turned out. I spent the evening trying to cut out some in advance. For the sake of time, I think I won't get to assemble them all right now, but I'll try. How about I'll try while I also ask you some of the questions from the comments, okay?
Sure.
Okay, so the first question is Joe, do you have to do calculations on the potential load of the set piece to know what size lumber to use and other construction or engineering factors?
Definitely.
Seems like a very high-tech question.
If it, you get to the point where you've done them before or somebody else has done them before and but if you don't know, you definitely have to there's a lot of math involved doing calculations to figure out what the stress load is. You don't want a set falling down. You don't want anybody getting injured. Definitely have to be sure that every piece can take the load.
And so load means literal physical load.
Yeah, well, you've got the load, which is the weight that's going to be on there, but a live load is weight. So how many actors are going to be on there? Are they going to be jumping up and you're going to be moving at the same time? And these are all factors that you have to take into account as a technical director to make sure that everything's going to work.
So I never even thought about that, about how something could be able to carry, for example, 5,000 pounds, but if you have a ton of actors jumping at the same moment in practice, that's going to be even heavier than expected. Okay, cool.
Right.
So another question is, who is responsible for organizing and tracking stored props?
Organizing and tracking stored props it's our props department. Various different in our props department are trying to figure out there. It seems like the space is always getting rehashed and reorganized as new things are brought in, and we're trying to figure a few things out. It's an ongoing job. So
yeah, it does seem like it. So also, are shows purposely staggered so that the same or similar set pieces aren't seen too close to each other, such as similar time period, etc.?
There's definitely our artistic direction team create a season, and they want that season to have a flow. But that's just choosing the plays and the directors. Once that season is chosen, you could have a set that's very similar back to back, just based on the inspiration and the imagination of the designer and the director.
Yeah. And it seems like maybe my vocals broke up for the first question. So in case, just for reference, the question was, do you have to do calculations on the potential load of the set piece to know what size lumber to use and other construction or engineering factors? Which sounds like a question from somebody who has some experience. Okay, so we have another question, and that is, what was the most intricate set or part of a set that your team has built?
Oh, gosh. Comedy of Errors was very intricate, was one of the reasons we showed it, with its multiple levels and all of the railings and the stairs and all of it turned on the turntable. So it's probably a good choice. But when we did Almost Famous, we had 20 axes of automated control, and that was a very complicated show for automation. Every show is different, and that's one of the things I love about theater, is that every set design brings on a new challenge.
Yeah, that's something that I've learned from talking to designers is that very, very rarely is it a situation where we say, okay, well, we have to tell the story of a spaceship. What have we got? It's usually, how do we tell the story of a spaceship? I want these 5 incredible things that nobody has ever done before to happen. Let's figure out how to make those happen. As opposed to, right?
Seems like very often we're doing things that we've never done before.
Yeah. Okay, so we have 2 more questions real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. So the first is, how far in advance is a set supposed to be completed before opening performance?
Oh, gosh. Well, we usually want the set done by what we call the tech period. So for a show can be, that's when we're bringing all the technical elements together. And that can usually be 3 days or a week and a half, depending on the complexity of the show. And then we have a few preview performances where we're still working on the set and tweaking it in front, but still have an audience each night. That whole process can take 3 weeks from getting everything buttoned up throughout that tech and preview process before we open. So sometimes it's not done until the day before opening.
And from the moment that you started working on it, from those original drawings until tech, about how long do you usually have to create a full set?
So generally we want all of our main drawings done 9 weeks before load-in. And then we're working several weeks on making sure that the budget will work, making sure that we can get all the materials, making sure we know how we're going to build it all. And then we have about a 5 to 7 week build period before tech.
Okay, and then that's one more question. You ready?
All right.
Wrap it up. So, Joe, if the scenery department was one of the great houses of Game of Thrones, which one would it be and why?
Oh my gosh.
It was a really hard question.
I think the scenery department is probably we're probably the Lions. We're probably the Lannisters. It takes a fair amount of money to make scenery happen, and everybody's depending on us for running in there and taking over and making everything happen, or else everybody else gets behind. So.
Well, thank you so much for sharing with us how that all happens and what the process is and what your space looks like. This has been so, so cool. I really appreciate you joining today. Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks. Okay, so we'll see you next time sometime. Who knows when at this point, but it was nice to see you today. And if you watching at home, if you want to support free, accessible online theater programming like this during a challenging time in San Diego, you can go ahead and head over to theoldglobe.org/donate to contribute to how we're innovating theater arts as a public service during this time. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining us, for participating in the comments. Arts engagement programs only exist because you're joining us live right here on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. So don't forget to tune in tomorrow, though, to Community Voices Playwriting, also at 3 p.m. right here on the Old Globe Arts Engagement page. Thanks again to Joe Powell, thanks to Project Aware, to Brittany Guy, and to Reginald Washington for joining us, and thanks to you for watching. See you next time.